Hi there, my friend. You are watching my weekly video blog. I am Gina Zwig with Positive Life Dog Training, and I am so glad you're here. Thank you for watching. So, if you caught last week's video blog, you know that we talked about the topic was is no a behavior? And we talked about what we can ask our dogs to do instead when they're doing something we don't want them to do. And so if you missed that, go back a week to check out my YouTube channel and you will find that video in last week's. And you need to check that out because there's a lot of good information there. And one of the skills that we talked about that you could teach your dog when he's doing something you don't want is mat targeting, or I think I mentioned go to your place. So go to your place is the cue, or it can be one of the cues, and match targeting is what the behavior is called. So what exactly is mat targeting and what is the purpose? So what the final behavior looks like is on cue, when you say to your dog, I will talk about, you can choose what your verbal cue is going to be. You say, what the cue that I choose for my dog Rory is go to your mat. So wherever I am and wherever he is, he runs to the mat, he lays down on it, and he stays there until I cue him with a release cue. And the purpose of it is, has many purposes. There's a bazillion things you could use it for, but it teaches your dog that it's a good thing to just relax on his mat in place. It's his special little place, and you can use it when you need to get some work done, you're cooking, you're eating dinner, you have a visitor come to the door, and maybe your dog has a little bit of a jumping problem and you're working on that. So, in the meantime, he can have a place to go when you don't want him to do any of those things, or it could be just get him out of the way, he's bugging the kids or whatever. And it's just a really good thing to teach your dog how to just chill and relax when you need him to on cue. What you will need to get started with teaching mat targeting is you'll need a mat to begin with. Now, your final destination for your dog could be their cozy bed or a rug that you have, or it could be their crate. So, the kind of mat that I use, this is one of ours, and you'll see the larger one in the video with Rory. But so the back is just kind of rubbery. I'm pretty sure I got these on Amazon. I think you can get them at Target pretty cheap. And it's pretty thin. So for practice, I like to have something that your dog doesn't have to really climb up onto. It's just easy to run to and lay down on. So that's a good place to get started with that. You will also need treats, and I recommend using a couple different value of treats, something pretty high value for what you'll be giving your dog when he's on the mat, and then something a little bit lower value or a couple steps down to toss off when you want him to get off the mat. And I'll explain that a little bit more. You'll also want to think ahead a little bit and choose what you want your verbal cue to be for this behavior. So it could be, like I said, I use go to your mat. You could just use one word. You could say bed, place, go to your place, go to your house, whatever you think is natural to you and that you would be consistent with. And the same with a release cue. You want to choose a release cue. You don't want your dog to get up just whenever he decides it's a good idea to do that. You want it to be clear that your dog stays until you release him. So I just picked a very simple release cue that I use, and it's just okay. Some people think that's a little too common. They use that in their other daily language too much. You could say break or free, and really anything. You can say pineapples. It doesn't really matter, just as long as it's consistent. That's the cue you're going to use to release your dog. So I like to use some pretty high value treats on the mat, like chicken or beef, or just some treats that you know he's absolutely wild about. and then maybe just some pieces of his food to toss off. So what you're going to do is you're going to just put the mat down only when you're training it. It shouldn't be left out when you're not working on this, and I'll explain that. But you and your dog are going to be near the mat, and you're basically just going to point at it. And he's going to just be curious and start sniffing at it. When he steps on it, and if he never does and there's too much going on, you may need to just lure him on with food. As soon as he gets 4 paws on it, click the clicker. If you're not using a clicker, say yes or good and treat him handsomely. And I would keep saying yes or click and give him treats several while all 4 paws are on the mat. So right now, what you're doing at that stage is you're building the value for just being on the mat. And then when he just wanders off of it, at that point, it's okay. When he just comes off, that's fine. The treats stop. And then you point to the mat again. So I didn't say that you're giving the verbal cue just yet, because, like with most things we train, we don't want to attach a verbal cue to a behavior that's unclear or messy. Until he really starts getting it, that's when we're going to attach the verbal cue. So at this point, you're going to point again to the mat and possibly lure him if you need to. All 4 paws on, click, treat, click, treat, click, treat. He is going to think, especially if you have high nut value treats, being on this mat is an amazing thing. He might not even want to get off. So after you do that a few times, now you're going to add the verbal cue. Like with he's getting on and off the mat. He likes it on the mat. Now you can say whatever verbal cue you've chosen. Just say it's go to mat or go to your mat. So at this point, we're going to be adding a sit and a down and an implied stay. So now when you say go to your mat and you use your hand cue and your dog goes to the mat, you ask for a sit and a down, and then you click when he lays down. Okay. So, and then get him off, cue him to get off the mat. At this point, you can add your release cue, okay, or break, free, whatever you've chosen for your release cue. And then, so several times, you're just going to repeat this off the mat, on the mat. Remember, when he's off the mat, it's a lower value treat. On the mat, it's a very high value treat. So when he's on the mat, you're going to ask for a down every single time. And you don't have to treat for the sit anymore, just for the down. And you can use a verbal cue as well, wherever you're at with down. Cue him for his down, and then you're going to repeat that several times. And then after, I don't know, however many times, just do it several times. And then what you're going to do is he goes onto the mat at your cue. Instead of cueing for down, you're just going to stand there and wait. And what you want your dog to do at this point is just to offer the down, because the final behavior, like I said, is to, when you say go to your mat, he goes to the mat, he lies down, and he stays until you release him. So you don't want to have to be across the room and say, go to your mat, down, stay, right? So he's going to put all of this together, that the one cue means all of those things together. And so this is how we get there. So you've been cueing him for the down. Now you're going to wait him out. And he might not do it right away. He might just look at you and not know what you want and then wander off the mat. That's okay. That means you need to go back to the previous level where you continue to ask him for a down, but you want to throw in there several of these where you say, go to your mat, and he's just sitting, probably will go in a sit. And then you just stand there and you wait. And it's so much fun when he first offers that down. You haven't asked for it, and you're just sitting there waiting. His wheels are turning, and he's thinking, I'm going to get that treat faster if I just go ahead and lay down instead of waiting for them to cue. And that's how they put that together, and you can eliminate that cue. So once he is at that point, now you will only click and treat once he's laying down. Go to mat, he goes, runs to it. You're actually going to be pretty close to the mat at this point yourself, too. And then he lies down and you click and you treat. So now, once your dog is automatically laying down when he goes to the mat, you're going to work on stay. And as you'll see in the demo video with Rory, I'm referring to an implied stay. And the reason is I don't give the stay cue because, like I said, you don't want to have to tell your dog to stay, but you moving away, if you've worked on stay training, you know, you say stay, you move away from your dog, you come back to him, you click, and you give him a treat. And so you're going to be doing those same motions, but you're not actually saying the word. So you step away one step after he lays down, you just step away, you're still facing him, come right back to him, and you click and treat. And then you're going to gradually increase a couple steps, 3 steps, walk around him, and you'll see all that in the video. So that's why I have not asked him for a stay because I don't want to have that cue in there as part of the behavior. So for certain behaviors like stay and for mat targeting, it's distance, duration, and distractions. Those are the 3 Ds that we want to add in to proof this skill. So I would recommend when you're training this, you start in the house where the distractions are the lowest. You saw that Rory and I were working outside. It's just better for the video. It was very distracting for him. You will see that he was struggling a bit with distractions. So some distractions that you can add in are, I mean, some distractions just happen naturally as you're working on things, especially if you're working outside. But you can, toss a toy. You can, when you're inside, you can move away and sit down in a chair. Like sit down, cross your legs. You even stand up, do some jumping jacks. You might need to work up to that, but all of those things when you start moving around and changing your body position, that's very distracting for your dog. So you can gradually add those things in. And when you're in the house and you do those things, well, when you go outside and the squirrels are running around and the neighbors are making noise and other dogs are barking, he's going to be like, oh, piece of cake. I never know what she's going to do. So we've got this. And then you're going to add distance. So you're going to when your dog is on the mat, you're going to move away from the mat and you're going to increase that distance. Sometimes you can even go out of sight for a second. You come right back. And then duration, of course, is just like it sounds. You want your dog to be able to stay for a length of time. So we work on these things one at a time, like distance, and then distraction, and then duration. And eventually you're going to put them all together. But for duration, you'll just add a few seconds at a time after you get to 30, like with stay, this is what I teach. After you get to 30 seconds, you're going to want to throw in some short ones in there, or your dog's going to just think this is just going to get longer and longer, and you might lose them. So add those in one at a time. Then move your mat to a different room, different location in the house. Then you can move it outside. So when you go to a more challenging environment, you want to just bring everything a little bit easier and then you can bring it harder again because just moving to a new location is going to be much more challenging for your dog. Keep rewarding him with those high value treats when he's on the mat. The other thing you're going to do that's going to add more challenge and really build this skill is you're going to increase your distance from the mat when you cue your dog onto it. So I would start where you're right next to the mat at first. You're just pointing to the mat, he's right next to you. Well, then you're going to go about a foot away from the mat, and then same with the cue. So gradually, you should be able to be, if you do that gradually, you could be across the room and say, go to your mat. He'll run to the mat and lay down. When you first do that and you start moving away from the mat, he might get a little mixed up and want to lay next to you or lay somewhere between you and the mat. And so if he does that, you move yourself close to the mat again. You kind of point, I think that is in the demo video, point to the mat again to get him situated on the mat. At that point, you're going to say, good boy, good girl. Um, I wouldn't click and treat him when you have to reposition him on that. Good boy. Just do another easy one. Go out just a couple steps, come back, click, right? Because we don't want to teach our dog that you You stop halfway in between, you lay down, then you go on the mat, and then you get treated. Like real quickly, they can learn, oh, that's what she's looking for. I will have a link to a PDF with some of the steps. It's a pretty simple PDF. Um, some of the steps to train this, if you'll see in the description if you scroll down on the YouTube description. And if you just practice this for even 5 minutes a day, 5 to 10 minutes a day, and when you're finished, like you saw, like I do in the video with Rory, just pick up the mat, you put it away, and you get it out again when you're going to work on it. And it's going to be like a very novel, exciting thing for you and your dog to work on together. So I hope that it goes well. I hope you found this helpful. Check out the demo video and see how Rory did. And like I said, you will see that at times he was struggling a bit, but we worked through it. And I think it's important for you to know that things don't always go perfectly. And I like to leave some of that in there because there's a lot of troubleshooting that happens with training. Enjoy the video. I really appreciate you watching. And let me know if you have any questions. You can email me anytime at gina@positivelifedogtraining.com. And I hope to see you next week. Okay. Oh, Rory, touch. Good boy. So that's just to get him off the mat. Okay, now he's on. I'm just going to click and treat his. He likes being on the mat. Good. Dropped one. Good boy. I'm not telling him to stay. It's just an implied stay. So I just move around. I come back and I click. Good buddy. Good boy. Just working on building some. Oops. That's a good example. I moved too far away too fast. Rory, go to your mat. Oops. On the mat. Okay. Let's reset. Huh. Here we go, buddy. Are you okay? Good, buddy. All right. So I'm not telling him to stay. I'm just, it's an implied stay. Good boy. So we're working on building some distance, my distance from the mat, and a little bit of duration. Good boy. So sometimes I move away and I come back to him and treat him. And sometimes I call him to me or release him with our release cue, which I will give in a second. It's soggy in the yard. There's plenty of distractions out here just naturally. Good boy. Good buddy. Good. So our release cue is okay. He doesn't want to get off now. So I toss a treat off. Okay, Rory. Good boy. Can you get it, buddy? Something of a little lower value when I toss the treat off. Go to your mat. Good boy, buddy. So good. Good job. Yeah. So he has learned that go to your mat means you go, you lie down, and you stay until you're released. So we're working on building up that duration and distractions. It's very distracting for me to walk all the way around, turn around. Good boy. Well, here's a new treat for you. Good buddy. Good. Oh, all sorts of noises out here. I don't know what that is. It's okay, buddy. What was that? Good job. So this time I'm going to call him off the mat. Rory, come. Let's go, buddy. Come on, buddy. Rory, come. Wow. You like the mat. Good boy. I had to call you twice. That is awesome. So he didn't even collect his reward for coming. He is at the point where he thinks the mat is a very cool place to be. So he just automatically went back on it. So I'm going to reward him for that, even though I didn't cue it. That's so nice, buddy. That was very nice. Okay, I'm going to try to add another distraction. Rory, Rory, go to your mat. So he's over there. Go to your mat. Good job, buddy. All the way. There we go. Being a little bit picky. This is a pretty big mat, so he should be able to be all the way on it. And so I'm adding the distraction of me sitting in a chair. See if he will do that. Just for a second. And then I pop back up because he was just about to get up out of his stay. That's a new one for him, for me to be actually sitting in a chair. So whenever I set down the mat, he's pretty excited. Are we going to do this? Our cue is go to your mat. Let's see if he just does it. Wow, what a good boy. So he lays down when he gets on it. Good buddy. Good. Building up some distance. Okay, now I'm going to add distance and a distraction because we've been working on this for a little bit. He has a toy off camera. Whoop, whoops. See what he chooses. Good boy. I'm not going to treat him for that one. Good buddy. So he's pretty distracted. So I'm going to throw in an easy one here. Sounds in the neighborhood, the wind. Good job, buddy. You got a paw off the mat. We'll take it. That was good. So I walked pretty far away. I'm going to double deliver. And I got whoops. So I just say that's my no reward marker is just whoops. So I don't give him another treat for getting back on. Good boy. I tell him he's good. Good boy, buddy. But I don't want him to think that getting off and getting back on gets a reward. And I think I need to do less talking. Good buddy. Let's see if he can handle this distraction. Whoops, that was a bit much. Go to your mat. Good boy. He's pretty distracted right now, so okay. Okay. Just meet him where he's at. I'm gonna not squeak it because that was a little bit too hard. And let's just, buddy, not yet. Not yet. Good boy. So good. Let's try that again. On your mat. Good buddy. Good boy. So me tossing it away was just a little too hard for him right now. So I'm just gonna hold it, wave it around a little, and then we'll work back up to that. He has succeeded at that level before, but right now, it's a little too hard for him right now with the other distractions. Good boy. That was very good. Good buddy. Good job, buddy. Let's see if we could do this. Good boy. So I want to catch him before he does get up. I'm going to see if I can get him off with hand targeting. Right, touch. Yes, good boy. Good boy. So my release cue for him is okay. And sometimes he doesn't want to get off. He goes right back on. Good boy, buddy. So I want to get him off so I can show that we're building distance with my proximity to the mat when I cue him to go on. So I'll get him off again and I'll cue him on from a little bit of ways. Rory, touch. Good boy, buddy. Over here, buddy. Good boy. Go to your mat. Not quite on it. Yes, good boy. Needed a little reminder. It's okay, buddy. You're doing so good. So good. And then a little duration, but I would just wait. If I had a chair, I might just sit down to add a distractant because that's very distracting for me to just change body position. Good boy, buddy. So good. So we increase um, my distance from the mat when I tell him to get on, the distractions, the duration, how far away I go from him when he's on it. And we just keep building that very gradually. Rory, touch. Good boy, buddy. So good. You like the mat? And here you go, sweetheart. And when we're finished, I say, all done. And I just put the mat away because I like to end the session when he's still having fun with it. And that way, when I bring the mat out again, you saw how excited he was to get on. It's like, oh, we're going to do that fun mat thing again. So that's what we want to do. We don't want it to be drudgery for him. Good boy, buddy. You did good. Oh, you did good. My name is Gina Zwig. I'm a professional dog trainer and owner at Positive Life Dog Training. It is my joy and passion to share with you the wonders of positive reinforcement training and to promote the positive treatment of the most amazing creatures on the planet, our beloved dogs. In my video blog, I share dog training tips, recommendations, lots of free resources, and training demos, all to help you and your dog live your most positive lives together. If you're a dog parent or caregiver, and like me, you also like the idea of making our dogs' lives continually better, then you're in the right place, my friend. Be sure to click the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. And thanks so much for watching, my friend. Be sure to scroll down in the description to grab any links to resources I've included in this post. I hope to see you next week.